PFL Battle of the Giants this Saturday from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the main event for the heavyweight title, which I don't know what heavyweight title it is because the PFL is going to have their championships card in November, which still hasn't been formally announced, so I don't really know what's going on there. But then you also have the Bellator heavyweight champion is currently Ryan Bader still, even though Renan Ferreira beat him. It's the Super Fights Heavyweight Championship between Francis Ngannou and Renan Ferreira. I honestly, for a long time, I didn't think Francis Ngannou was ever going to fight for the PFL, but here he is, taking on Renan Ferreira. And folks, if you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more MMA here on the channel. Yesterday, we posted our UFC Fight Night Hernandez versus Pereira full card predictions, so go check that video out in the description down below. Also, yesterday, we posted our ALCS and NLCS predictions with the MLB, and then tomorrow, we will have our college football predictions, and then on Wednesday, we will have our NFL predictions. So all those coming to you on the channel in the next upcoming days. And again, hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't yet. It really helps the channel out if you do hit that subscribe button and like the video as well. All right, we've got 10 fights in this card. I'm going to get through some of these pretty quickly. The main card is pretty good because this is a pay-per-view for the PFL. It's their second ever pay-per-view. They had the championship fights last year on pay-per-view, or I believe the last 2 years they've been on pay-per-view, and now we get this card on pay-per-view as well. We start things off here with Tariq Ismail taking on Taha Bendaoud, I believe. These are PFL MENA guys that we've seen before, or guys who have been scheduled to fight on PFL MENA. In Bendaoud, he's never fought actually in PFL MENA, even though he's been booked over there twice. For Tariq Ismail, he won on PFL MENA, he won the fight, but he missed weight going into it, so technically he did not advance in the PFL MENA format. He beat Jalal Al-Daja by unanimous decision, but since he missed weight, they deduct a point from him, and then Al-Daja then gets to move on the PFL season, even though Ismail won the fight. Again, PFL does that kind of weird stuff sometimes. I think Ismail is just the better fighter. He's the way more experienced fighter as well. He's fought, 9 times in the past, and he's won 8 of those fights. Now, again, 6 of those wins are by decision, but still, or 7 of those wins are by decision, but I do think Ismail's the better striker. I think he should be able to go out there and win this fight. His only loss is to Bernardo Sopaj, a UFC name now. He lost to Sopaj back in 2020 in Brave. You look at Taha, again, this is a guy who's just had 3 fights. He has not fought since May of 2023, where he won 3 in a row in Fusion Fight League and UAE Warriors. But I think the lack of experience is really going to hurt the Atlas Lion in Taha Bendaoud in this fight. Again, did not fight in PFL MENA 1 against Abdullah Al-Kantani. He missed weight. He was supposed to fight. He was booked against Yusuf Al-Husani on this card. Of course, Husani pulled out. Now you get him and Ismail. I think Ismail goes out here and wins this fight. I like him to take it by unanimous decision. We go on to our next one here. We have got, a name that the PFL likes to promote. You've got Mustafa Abda Rashid Neda, or he's going by Nada, I guess, on the PFL's website, taking on Ahmed Sami in this one. We are going with the fighter that the PFL obviously wants to win, Mustafa Neda. This guy is supposed to win this fight. He has main evented the PFL MENA before, as he won his last fight by first round knockout. He's fought before in the PFL, American side of things, where he beat Corey Cup by first round TKO as well. Again, obviously Neda is a fighter who's coming in from Saudi Arabia. He's a guy that the PFL wants to promote and wants to win. And he's taking on a guy here in Ahmed Sami, who's coming off of a unanimous decision loss in his last fight, but it was to the babyface assassin, one of the guys from Dansbury, Connecticut, obviously with Glover Teixeira and Alex Pereira. I'm talking about Ursi. I don't know how to pronounce his last name yet. I need to figure that out. But it's a guy who just got his contract on the Contender Series. Actually, no, he didn't get the contract on the Contender Series, right? He won, but Dana White said he wasn't impressed. Yeah. Regardless, not a horrible loss for Sami, but this is a guy who's lost before too. He lost to Tom Breeze back in 2022, lost to UAE Warriors in 2023. I just think he's outgunned in this fight. Mustafa Neda is just better on the feet. He's got more skills to win the fight up there. His ground game lacks a little bit, but for Ahmed Sami, it's not like he's some very skillful grappler. I think Mustafa Neda should win this fight. And again, he's supposed to win this fight because he's, again, the Saudi Arabian guy on this PFL card. He's expected to win. He should take care of business. Give me Mustafa Neda to win this fight, and I think he will get it done by first round TKO. Going to our next one here. We've got the PFL debut of Ibragimov. I probably butchered that, but Ibragimov takes on Nacho Campos in this fight. We're going with Ibragimov. I keep butchering that. We're going with Ibragimov to win this fight. He's won before in the PFL. He won at PFL Europe back in 2024, earlier this year, actually, excuse me. In June of this year, we won by arm triangle choke in the first round over Josh Reed. Again, Ibragimov's a guy who can get the fight won on the ground, and he can do it on the feet as well, but it's primarily going to be the ground game that's going to win Ibragimov fights. He's taking on Nacho Campos in this fight, a guy who literally has not fought anybody. I'll list off the records of the guys he's fought. He fought in the promotion called WOW, where he beat a 1-2 guy by first round knockout. In AFL, where he beat an 0-1 guy by 14-second knockout, a second round arm lock victory over a 9-10 Hector Humani, then a split decision victory in Extreme Fighters over a 2-0 guy, and then most recently, again, this guy is 4-0, now 5-0, with a first round knockout victory over Israel Nascimento, who was making his professional mixed martial arts debut. Yeah. Again, the PFL does this. I say this every time I talk about PFL video, and even Bellator too. There are guys that are just supposed to win. Ibragimov is supposed to win this fight. Ibragimov's supposed to go out here and pick up this win. He hasn't really fought the best guys either, but he's won in the PFL Europe before, and now they're giving him a shot in the pay-per-view. Again, the PFL knows what they're doing. They are trying to book their guys who, they're trying to book their guys that will win fights. They're trying to book their guys that they want to promote to win fights in this card, because this is going to be the most eyes the PFL is going to get, obviously, because for instance, Ngannou is in the main event, so they're going to get guys like Neda, who again has main event in PFL Mana before, but people who have not watched PFL Mana are going to see this card and say, oh, this guy's going to fight in the Saudi Arabian version of PFL, maybe I'll go out and watch that next. Ibragimov, again, a guy who fights in PFL Europe, you're going to see him fight on the prelims of this card. If he wins, it makes you, kind of want to watch him again. Hell, we're going to talk about Hussein Kamimadov, probably butchered it, but he's on the main card as well. We're going to get to him. But this is a simple smash spot here for Ibragimov. He should go out here and win this fight pretty easily, and I don't think it's all that close. He should be able to go out there, get a takedown, get a submission, and find a way to put away Nacho Campos pretty early in this fight. I think he'll get it done in the first round. Give me Ibragimov by first round submission in this prelim fight. Next up, we go to the lightweight division. We've got Dedrick Sanders taking on Zaynukov. Zaynukov is 15-4, and I think he should go out here and win this fight. It's his first fight in the PFL. This guy has one loss since 2018, and it's a 2021 loss in Eagle FC for the lightweight championship, where he lost it to Mehdi Dakiev by second round TKO. Before that, you got to go all the way back to 2018 to his last loss, and it's Nurulo Aliyev, a loss in 2016 to Roman Bagotinov as well. I mean, these are UFC names that Zaynukov is losing to, and he's been on a winning streak. He's won 4 in a row in UAE Warriors and an RCC, and the level of competition that he's fought is not that bad either. Sanders is a guy that we've seen before in the PFL, coming off victory over Sergio Casio, where he finished him in the first round just a couple months ago in the PFL stateside version of things. However, he lost to Luis Pena, Violent Bob Ross right before that in Aries Fight Series. Dedrick Sanders is not a bad name. He's really not. He can mix it up on the feet and on the ground, but at the same time, he is very capable of getting finished on both the feet and on the ground as well. I think where Zaynukov is going to have an advantage is going to be on the ground. I think he should be able to go out there and out wrestle Dedrick Sanders, excuse me, I keep saying that. But at the same time, I do like the striking game out of Zaynukov as well. I think, again, it's decent enough to the point where he can win this fight. Dedrick Sanders at 34 years old is just, I don't know. Again, he won his last fight over Sergio Casio, but Casio's always been one of these guys that's kind of just a journeyman who kind of just got to the PFL, won a fight, and lost to Sanders. I think Zaynukov, again, is expected to win this fight. Whenever in doubt, pick the Russian from Eagle FC. I'm just saying, he's from Makhachkala, Russia. Again, that's not the Dagestan camp, but still, very good wrestling camp that Zaynukov comes from. I think he should be able to go here and mix it up with Sanders, and I think he should be able to win the fight by unanimous decision. Again, who ultimately, you got to think about it this way. When the PFL is booking this fight, who do they want to win? The American fighter from, Tennessee, or do they want the guy from Makhachkala, Russia? It's probably going to be the guy from Makhachkala, Russia, so think about it. They're going to give the guy from Makhachkala, Russia the better matchup. I'm just saying, that's kind of how the PFL does things. They have their guys they want to win fights. Obviously, again, now, judging for the PFL has been kind of suspect. I mean, I want to, go back to Glabes and Tebow versus Rory McDonald, 4 years ago. PFL judging is a little bit suspect, but, for the most part, they can't actually determine the winner of the fight, but they will set their guys that they want to win up to be in the best possible position to actually win the fight. So give me Zaynukov to win the fight. He should win it by unanimous decision. We go on to our final prelim, and it's a good fight. We've got Raufeon Stots taking on Marcus Breno. Of course, 2 Bellator names on the prelims here for the PFL. Raufeon Stots, obviously the former 135-pound champion for the PFL. For Bellator. Actually, he was never crowned the official champion. He was always the interim champion because they made him just defend that a couple times. But that's besides the point. Raufeon Stots, a former champion for Bellator, he went on his huge run, right, getting to the finals of the Grand Prix where he lost to Patchy Mix. But going through a bunch of names in order to win that championship. You look at, I mean, he's not really known for his fighting skills no more, but Keith Lee, Josh Hill, Magomedov, Warren Archuleta, and then 2 wins over Danny Sabatello. Of course, the one loss is to Patchy Mix, where he just got caught in the first round with a knee and got put down and put away. Other than that, Raufeon Stots hasn't lost a fight. I think, again, Stots is kind of deserving of another title shot. Now, Patchy Mix was supposed to defend his Bellator championship in Paris against Leandro Higo in November. That event got canceled. I don't know what's happening with Bellator. They still have a card scheduled, I believe, for Japan on December 31st. That's the next time Bellator is running a card. I believe Patchy Mix will probably just end up fighting on PFL Europe against Leandro Higo. I think that'll probably be the main event of the PFL Europe card. I think, again, Bellator now is officially getting just, they're kind of just getting moved out. I think the one in Japan will probably be the final Bellator card ever. So we'll see what happens. But I think, again, it's kind of getting phased out, and all of these Bellator guys are going to end up fighting in PFL. And I think if they do the PFL versus Bellator card again this year, it will be officially like, okay, now we are combining the belts. Now, again, what are we going to do? Ryan Bader versus Francis Ngannou? I don't know. But I think that's kind of what's happening. I think Bellator now is getting phased out, but who knows? Because you got a guy like, again, you got Patchy Mix versus Marcus Breno on this card. And again, not Patchy Mix. Raufeon Stots versus Marcus Breno on this card. And Stots, again, he hasn't lost a fight in Bellator except for Patchy Mix. The last time this guy lost a fight that wasn't Patchy Mix, it was Merab Dvalishvili in 2017. That's crazy. Raufeon Stots has 2 losses on his entire record, and it's to the 2 champions in his respective weight class at 135 pounds. Patchy Mix and Merab Dvalishvili. Now, I'm not saying Raufeon Stots would be a top 5 guy in the UFC, nor is he a top 5 bantamweight in the world right now. But again, he's only lost 2 fights ever. He is 35 years old. He is getting up there in age. He's a Rufus Sports guy, of course, from Milwaukee. He's getting a 26-year-old Marcus Breno in this fight, but Breno's coming off a loss to Danny Sabatello, and I get it. MMA math doesn't work this way. Stots beat Sabatello twice, and Marcus Breno lost to Danny Sabatello. Again, different stylistic fight, but Danny Sabatello is a guy who doesn't usually get finishes, and Danny Sabatello submitted Marcus Breno. So, I don't know. But again, Raufeon Stots, he can wrestle. He can strike as well. I think all around, Raufeon Stots is the better fighter here. He should be able to just beat Marcus Breno everywhere. I'm not really impressed with much of what Breno does. I don't think he's a better striker compared to Stots, and I think Stots has a wrestling advantage as well. Grappling-wise, maybe Breno is slightly better, but Stots can wrestle, and he can strike as well. Again, I'm not concerned about him being 35. I don't think he's going to magically fall off a cliff going into this fight against Breno. I think he should be fine. Give me Raufeon Stots to go out here and win this fight. I think he'll get it done by unanimous decision. We go on to the main card, and we start things off here in the lightweight division. The main card is really good. There's one fight that's kind of just like, why is it here? But the main card's really good. AJ McKee versus Paul Hughes. I am surprised PFL is doing this. I don't know what AJ McKee's contract status is, because he hasn't fought in Bellator. He's just been fighting the PFL. He obviously didn't fight in the season. But I find it a little odd they are booking AJ McKee and Paul Hughes right now. Because these are their cash cows in PFL Tour. These are the guys they want to win. Paul Hughes, of course, chose the PFL over the UFC, signed with them, beat Bobby King in Ireland earlier this year in Bellator, and now here's a huge step up in competition. They are giving him one of the toughest guys to go out there and fight in AJ McKee. This is a brutal matchup for Paul Hughes. I think it is. Now, on the feet, I think Paul Hughes does have an advantage, but on the ground, I really like AJ McKee. I mean, hell, I don't know if it's going to be the same way that AJ McKee's last fight was in Saudi Arabia, where he beat Clay Collard. I'm not saying it will, but Paul Hughes is a really good striker. Yes, he can grapple, but AJ McKee has the advantage down there. Definitely he does, and that's where the key advantage goes in this fight. Hell, AJ McKee's a guy, again, who has fought 23 times under the Bellator banner, and he's won 22 of them. He's 22-1 as a pro, and all of his fights have been with Bellator. Former Bellator champion, lost the belt to Patricio Pitbull, never got his rematch. So McKee is 4-0 since losing the belt to Pitbull, and I get it, he's not in the same weight class as Patricio anymore, but why is he fighting Usman Nurmagomedov? He's up at 155 pounds now. He beat Spike Carlisle, beat Roberto de Souza, beat Sidney Outlaw, and is coming off that win over Clay Collard now. If he beats Paul Hughes, he has to fight for the belt, right? And I would say the same for Paul Hughes as well. But again, at one point in time, AJ McKee was the big star Bellator was pushing. He was a big deal for them. He beats Patricio Pitbull in the first fight. I picked that one right, by the way. I want to say that. They were about even going into that fight. I picked AJ McKee to go out there and win the fight. He got it done. It was probably, I thought, one of the biggest moments in Bellator history. It was in the Forum in Inglewood. It was a huge victory. He submitted him with a guillotine choke in the first round after knocking Patricio Pitbull down, all in the span of 2 minutes. But then he loses the rematch to Pitbull in a 5-round fight. He comes back, beats Spike Carlisle, and then again, he has won 4 in a row. Why wouldn't he get a shot against Usman? I don't know. It's just, that's why I'm thinking, like, is AJ McKee's contract coming up? Because it makes no sense that they'd book him against Paul Hughes, because everything on paper says AJ McKee's going to beat Paul Hughes. I get it. Paul Hughes, again, beat Bobby King, but he lost to Jordan Vucenic back in 2020. Arguably, he won that fight. It's fine. But again, Paul Hughes has beat guys. He's beat Vucenic. He's beat Morgan Chartier. He's beat guys. But AJ McKee, again, I don't want to understate how good this guy is. AJ McKee is still a very good fighter. Sure, does Paul Hughes have an advantage on the feet? I think he does. I think so. If AJ McKee just thinks he can go out there and out kickbox Paul Hughes, I think he's in trouble. But I think AJ McKee's going to use his wrestling, and he's going to use his grappling, and he's going to use it effectively. I think he's going to go out there and take down Paul Hughes and just limit anything Paul Hughes is able to do. Again, it's not like AJ McKee's ego is going to get in the way of him. Watch the Clay Collard fight. If you thought, again, AJ McKee's just going to say, oh, I'm just going to kickbox with this guy, I'm just going to box with the boxer. No, he takes him down right away, and he submits him within 50 seconds. I don't think Paul Hughes is going to be able to fight all that well off his back in this fight. I think AJ McKee's going to smother him on the ground, and I just think AJ McKee's the better wrestler. Give me AJ McKee to go out here and win this fight. Again, I don't understand it. Paul Hughes is their huge signing, and usually Bellator, PFL doesn't do this with their fighters. Give them immediate shots to the top of the weight class, and it's not even like Paul Hughes is fighting for the belt right now. He's fighting AJ McKee, which is a huge fight that could main event a Bellator card, can main event a PFL card. I'm happy they put it on the pay-per-view, but honestly, it's not very PFL-like to put your big prospect against one of your big stars. Because essentially, if Paul Hughes loses, I'm not saying the hype is gone, but it's not the same no more. I'm taking AJ McKee to beat Paul Hughes. He'll get it done with his grappling. AJ McKee wins the fight by unanimous decision. This is a performance where it's like, did you forget how good this guy is? Sure, again, he lost to Patricio, and he hasn't looked the best recently, but he's still 22-1. Give me AJ McKee. We go on to our next one here. I mean, this is a squash match. We have got Hussein Kadimagomaev taking on Zahar Mohsen. Give me Hussein to win the fight. I don't think it's that controversial of a pick. He'll get it done by second round submission. He's more than expected to win this fight, obviously. This is a guy, again, this is the reason he's on the main card. He's 11-1 as a pro. His only loss coming in Brave back in 2021 to Tae Kyun Kim, a fighter who's now 10-1 fighting in UAE Warriors. His only losses to Roman Bogotinov, again, a former UFC name who had one fight in the UFC and lost to Leonardo Santos and then got cut. Maybe he needs to get back in the UFC. I know he just lost the last fight in Brave, but regardless, Hussein is not bad at all. This is a very good fighter. He's got a good striking game. He can grapple as well. You look at Zafar Mohsen, from originally born out of Afghanistan, but now training and fighting out of Germany. This is a guy who is 13-4. He's won 3 fights in a row, but nothing really impresses me all that much. He's not fought the best guys, and Kadimagomaev should be able to easily win this fight, and he should be able to handle Zafar. Again, I say this all the time with the PFL, but there's a reason this fight's in the main cards, because Hussein's supposed to win. They're just trying to create a star here, and Hussein Kadimagomaev, I'm probably butchered, Kadimagomaev should be able to go out here and find a way to the knockout early. He's the better striker. He's the quicker striker. He's got more skills to win this fight on the feet, and I would expect him to go out here and get the finish and the win over Zafar Mohsen. So give me Hussein Kadimagomaev to win this fight by second round at TKO. Let's go on now to our next one, and it is the Bellator Middleweight Championship fight, Johnny Eblen versus Fabian Edwards. I don't really understand why this fight's happening, because there was no need for the rematch, guys. There was no need for this rematch. There just wasn't. Johnny Eblen's 15-0. His last title defense is Fabian Edwards. Fabian Edwards has won 1 fight since then. He beat Aaron Jeffrey. Now he's back in a title fight. What changes, guys? Johnny Eblen's still a better wrestler. Fabian Edwards, sure, you can kickbox, but Johnny Eblen has the advantage on the ground. You saw what happened in that first fight. Johnny Eblen eventually just broke Fabian Edwards and eventually finished him in the 3rd round. He spit on him after he won, which was, a little bad. But Johnny Eblen is just the better grappler. And how has Fabian Edwards lost in the past? All of his fights that he loses, he gets out wrestled. Costello Van Steens, who is going to be fighting for the belt after this fight. He beat Gregory Babinet, and I believe he is now the number 1 contender. Which, again, if Gregory Babinet won the fight, was he going to be fighting for the belt? I guess he was. But I just don't see why this fight's necessary. I think Costello Van Steens should probably be getting this title shot instead. Fabian Edwards got out-wrestled by Austin Vanderford back in 2021. He beats Lyoto Machida, Charlie Ward. He beats an old gay guard. Great. He loses to Eblen, bounces back, beats Aaron Jeffrey, and now we're back in this fight with Johnny Eblen. Johnny Eblen arguably lost his last fight. I thought he did personally. I thought Impa beat him. And maybe that's what Bellator/PFL is thinking. All right, if Impa Kasanganay was able to drop Johnny Eblen, maybe Fabian's able to do the same. They're not the same fighter. Impa Kasanganay does not give a damn if he's going to get knocked out or not. He will sit there and he'll trade in the pocket with you. And he, has no regard for life. Seriously, that's how Impa Kasanganay fights. Fabian Edwards is a lot more technical. I don't want him, say he fights like Leon just because he's his brother. But again, build-wise, he is somewhat similar to Leon Edwards. He's a tall guy who has a solid reach. But ultimately, again, I feel like Johnny Eblen should be able just to go take him down and give him hell. That's how I expect this fight to be. Again, nothing really changes from the first fight. It's an unnecessary rematch the PFL is only doing, or Bellator is only doing this because they want Fabian Edwards to be champion. And then, again, they don't think he can build his way back up. I don't think. He gets one win. He beats Aaron Jeffrey, who has just kind of always lost the big fight so far in PFL, or Bellator. If Fabian Edwards wins that one fight and he gets a title shot, Johnny Eblen's going to easily win this fight. He will scramble wrestle when needed. He will strike with Fabian Edwards until he gets into a little bit of trouble. Then he will go in there. He will scramble wrestle and take Fabian Edwards down. And what does Fabian Edwards have to offer off his back in this fight? He's going to get ground and pounded until he has no more will to fight anymore. That's what's going to happen. Johnny Eblen is he's a better fighter. He's a better fighter, and matchup-wise, this fight favors Johnny Eblen way more than it does Fabian Edwards. Again, if you're picking Fabian Edwards, you are hoping and praying he can stay on the feet this entire 25 minutes. Ultimately, that's just not how these fights work. There's a reason Johnny Eblen is a minus 625 favorite, and there's a reason Fabian Edwards is coming back at plus 455. Again, there is a reason for that. It's because Johnny Eblen is he's matchup-wise, he wins this fight 95 times out of 100. Unless Fabian Edwards gets lucky and knocks him out, it's not going to happen. Because again, Impa hit Johnny Eblen with some huge shots, and Eblen stayed in the fight and ended up winning the third round. I thought he lost the first two, but still, Eblen's recovery is decent, and that was more than apparent in that fight with Kasanganay. Give me Johnny Eblen to win the fight. He'll get it done by unanimous decision. Fourth round TKO. Eventually, he's going to be able to get that finish. Kind of like the last fight, it's going to be an accumulation of damage on the ground. It's going to be ground and pound that pushes Johnny Eblen to victory. So fourth round TKO victory for Johnny Eblen, and still Bellator champion. Give me him and Costello Van Steens next. That's a good fight. Next up, we go to the co-main event. I don't know what championship this is for. I guess it is for the PFL championship because there is no, or maybe it's the super fight belt. I don't know. But since there is no season this year for Larissa Pacheco at 145 pounds, the PFL opted to go 125 with their women's divisions. Chris Cyborg versus Larissa Pacheco. All right. It's a fight that I didn't know if it was ever going to happen, personally. I didn't know if they were ever going to do this fight. Because Chris Cyborg, you never know with their contract situation or whatnot, right? I would really like to see Chris Cyborg go back to the UFC. I would like to see both these fighters go back to the UFC. It's not going to happen. I could see a world where Larissa Pacheco goes back. She's 30 years old. And if Chris Cyborg's about to win the world championship, I'd like to see Larissa Pacheco go back. I don't know if Larissa Pacheco can make 135 pounds. I know Chris Cyborg can't make 135 pounds with the UFC. If they ever want to restore the 145-pound division, these are the fighters to get. They'd only do it in the sense that Kayla Harrison can then fight at 145 pounds. They could legitimately do this. If Amanda Nunes wants to come back, she could just fight Harrison at 145 pounds, and they could say Nunes is still the champion, because technically she is. I don't think they're going to do that. But you have Chris Cyborg and Larissa Pacheco. It's a good matchup. It is. I just think Chris Cyborg's better. I think she is. Guys, I still think Chris Cyborg is the best 145-pounder in the world right now. I get it. It's kind of a dying weight class to a certain extent. It is, because the UFC's not even having fights at 145 pounds anymore. But I've always thought Chris Cyborg could beat Kayla Harrison. I thought Chris Cyborg, again, I think she would have a very good chance to beat Amanda Nunes at this point in time. Chris Cyborg's still dedicated to the game. Amanda Nunes, of course, is no longer in the fight game. That's fine, but that's why I kind of always thought Cyborg. Again, Amanda Nunes, for how great she is, she lost to Juliana Pena. And I get it. Juliana Pena is the world champion yet again. I've always said Juliana Pena was going to regain that championship. But Chris Cyborg would be able to beat Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison at 145 pounds. And credit to Larissa Pacheco. She beat Kayla Harrison at 145 pounds, third time's a charm. But I don't think she's able to go out there and beat Chris Cyborg. You're going to see a boxing fight, and Chris Cyborg just simply a better boxer. Larissa Pacheco hits hard, but guys, Chris Cyborg hits hard too. Chris Cyborg has faced heavy-handed punchers. And now, Cyborg has not fought anybody to the extent of Larissa Pacheco. I completely understand that since Amanda Nunes, where you saw what happened in that fight, right? Cyborg said, all right, we're going to go ahead and trade. She ended up trading with, Nunes and eventually got KO'd. It was a stupid game plan. She lost the fight in 51 seconds. She shouldn't have fought like that. But Chris Cyborg, again, as long as she doesn't do that against Larissa and trade in the pocket and say, oh, I don't care, I can knock her out, I have more power, which, again, I don't think she's going to do that. Because, again, I think Chris Cyborg has learned from that Amanda Nunes fight. Because that's the last time Chris Cyborg was in a big fight where there was actual speculation that, oh, maybe Cyborg could lose. That was the last time Cyborg's had a fight like that. Since she's got into Bellator, I'd say the one fight maybe there was like, oh, maybe she could lose with Julia Budd. She dominated Julia Budd. She dominated Arlene Blencowe twice, Leslie Smith, Sinead Kavanaugh, and Kat Zingano was supposed to give her a little bit of trouble. She had no trouble handling Kat Zingano. She's been doing boxing fights since that Zingano fight, but she signed back on to fight Larissa Pacheco. She will beat Larissa Pacheco, and she will knock out Larissa Pacheco in the first round. I think Larissa Pacheco's record is completely, padded. Her losses, again, are Kayla Harrison twice, but I'm going to name off the fighters that Larissa Pacheco's beat in the PFL. I understand Chris Cyborg has not fought the best names, but we know how good Chris Cyborg is. Larissa Pacheco has beat Kayla Harrison once, which I'll give her credit in doing, but let's just name these other fighters. Okay? Bobby Joe DeZiel, Sarah Kaufman, Julia Pazik, Olena Koleshnik, Jamugul Fazionova, Jenna Fabian, Olena Koleshnik again, Julia Budd, Amber Lee Brock, Olena Koleshnik again, Marina Mohathina. These are the fighters she's beating, guys. None of them, we're talking about, oh yeah, Chris Cyborg hasn't fought anybody on the level of Larissa Pacheco in a while. But Larissa Pacheco's never fought anybody like Chris Cyborg. Chris Cyborg wins the fight and she dominates and she finds a way to knock out Larissa Pacheco in the first round. Give me Cyborg to win by first round knockout. As we go on to our main event in the heavyweight division, Francis Ngannou takes on Renan Ferreira. I am very surprised this fight's actually happening. Personally, I never thought it was going to happen. Because, again, Ngannou went on his boxing run. He arguably should have beat Tyson Fury, got knocked out in his last fight, 7 months ago against Anthony Joshua, and now here we are with him and Renan Ferreira. I'm concerned for Francis Ngannou. I'm not saying I'm going to pick Renan Ferreira. Well, you can see on the screen, I'm picking Francis Ngannou. But I'm concerned for Ngannou. You just got knocked out for the first time in your career against Anthony Joshua, and it was a brutal knockout. The fight arguably should have been stopped in the first round. If that was MMA, that fight would have been stopped in the first round. But again, that's why I don't like boxing. Because you knew Ngannou wasn't coming back. He gets dropped again in the second round. He was out on his feet. But then he walks straight into an overhand right, and Anthony Joshua puts him out. It's just, there's no reason for Ngannou to take that last shot. But again, that's boxing, and that's what happened. Now, Anthony Joshua, again, fought Daniel Dubois and lost. Which, he looked horrible in that fight. It is what it is. Anthony Joshua, again, he's already lost twice to Usyk. He's not the guy anymore. But it is what it is. Is Tyson Fury still the guy? Well, he lost to Usyk as well. We'll see how the rematch goes. I think Usyk is going to beat Fury again. I don't know how dedicated Tyson Fury is to the game anymore. But obviously he wasn't dedicated when he fought Ngannou. Ngannou should have got out of boxing when that happened. Because now if he arguably beat Tyson Fury, which I think he did, should have left. Should have came back to the PFL. And now he's the guy again. And you can say he's arguably, he should be the UFC champion, and now look at him, he's the PFL champion. I won't say the hype's gone, but it's not the same anymore. And how does he respond to being knocked out? At 38 years old. 39 years old? 38 years old. 38 years old, how does Francis Ngannou respond to being knocked out for the first time in his career? I don't know. I don't think Renan Ferreira is some world beater. I don't think he's all that great. I'm going to be honest with you. He's just tall and he hits hard. Ngannou's dealt with a lot of guys who hit hard. Renan Ferreira is just massive, though. He's 6'8". Like, Ngannou's 6'4", but yeah, Renan Ferreira is going to tower over him. Reach advantage, they're kind of the same. Ferreira has a 2-inch reach over him. It is what it is. I do think Renan Ferreira is incredibly overrated. I thought Ryan Bader was going to beat him. Obviously, it didn't happen, but like, look at the guys Ferreira's beat. I don't think these PFL heavyweights are all that great, right? You go back to 2022 where you got eliminated in the playoffs by Ante Dilia, comes back in 2023, loses to Rizvan Kuniev, beats Matu Sheffel, doesn't participate in does fight in the playoffs, excuse me, beats Maurice Green, beats Denis Goltsov, becomes the champion, and he's only fought Ryan Bader this year. Again, he lost to Rizvan Kuniev, a guy who, won in the contender series, but the guy is not like, he's not fighting for belts in the UFC. It's just, again, different stylistic matchup, obviously, with Kuniev and what Francis Ngannou is going to bring. But I think Ngannou's way better. Let's just be honest with ourselves, guys. He's a way better striker than Renan Ferreira, by far. Ante Dilia saw some success in the feet against Renan Ferreira. What is Francis Ngannou going to find? The one thing I'm concerned with, again, is going to be Francis Ngannou's chin. And how hesitant does he return after being knocked out? Because the last time Francis Ngannou lost a fight, Stipe Miocic, how did he respond? The Derek Lewis fight, he just stood there and went for 15 minutes. He was scared of another power puncher in Derek Lewis. He said it himself. He was scared to get knocked out. This is going to be 25 minutes. I think Ngannou's evolved from that, obviously. I think he's learned from that, obviously. But that is something to note going into this fight. Last time, and Ngannou didn't even get knocked out in the first Stipe fight. And obviously he came back and Ngannou became, again, the star that he is. But I am a little bit concerned for Francis Ngannou because you have everything to lose in this fight. Ultimately, what do you have to win? For the casual fan, nobody knows who Renan Ferreira is. You go from fighting Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua to Renan Ferreira. I think Ngannou gets it, but I do think it is a rough fight for him. I think it is, just because there's not much to win in this one. I think he gets it done. Does he ever fight again? I don't know. I mean, is there any intrigue in him fighting, I don't know, Denis Goltsov, Ryan Bader? Personally, I don't think so. Oleg Popov? I don't think so. But maybe Ngannou sticks around after this one. I think he beats Renan Ferreira by first round knockout. And if Ferreira leaves his chin exposed a lot, he just thinks he can knock everybody out. He has not faced anybody with the power of Francis Ngannou. When Ngannou touches you, you go out. And he should be able to just go in there and absolutely maul Ferreira. Unless Ferreira is able to catch Ngannou early, Francis Ngannou is going to finish this fight and he's going to win it in the first round. So it's going to be Francis Ngannou to become whatever PFL Heavyweight Championship champion this is for. But give me Francis Ngannou to finally come back and win his return to MMA for the first time. His first MMA fight since beating Ciryl Gane back in 2022. So it's going to be Francis Ngannou to win by first round knockout. And folks, thank y'all for watching. Or was it 2023 be gone? It might have been 2023 actually. It was January, wasn't it? No, it's 2022. My goodness, it's been since January of 2022 since this guy's fought MMA. That's insane. Regardless, give me the Predator, Francis Ngannou, to go out there and knock out Renan Ferreira in the first round. And folks, thank you all for watching our PFL Battle of the Giants predictions here on the channel. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank you all for watching, and Mamba forever.